You know, it's really funny. I was thinking about this today. I think I met you. It's insane, but it might be 30 years ago.
I think it was over 30. What season did you start on this? You were the new guy in season one.
I was the first new guy, not in season one, but I think I was, I don't even remember. I came in about 3 years in or something.
Yeah, so it was about exactly 30 years ago then.
Yeah, and you could not have been nicer to me. And it's amazing. I'll tell you this, my son is 14 years old. And he's a comedy fan. And one of the ways that we've bonded, meaning the first time he really looked at me with respect, was when he saw my name pop up on a Simpsons episode. And then I saw him just kind of look over and go like, well, you're not a complete idiot. But it was so funny because he didn't even know you were coming on the show. And 2 days ago, he just brought up your name and he said, do you know how many voices? A friend of his challenged him to name all the people you voice on The Simpsons, and he started rattling them off. He couldn't get them all, but I guess that's a challenge for real Simpsons fanatics, is how many voices has Hank done? How many do you think it's been?
First of all, I guess it's no surprise that you're raising a real comedy nerd there, but that's another conversation.
That was mandatory.
Yeah.
He's really good at sports, but I broke his wrist so that he had to just...
Yeah, you want to discourage that.
Yeah.
No son of mine's going to be good at sports. I don't know why you were Northern England in that improv. But yeah, it depends on how you count. Like if you look at some website, I have like 200 and some odd.
Right.
But like most of that is just one line that I did as my own voice, in whatever episode. But for all intents and purposes, there's like 30 to 35 running characters that I'll really do every week. But every sound I can make has been harvested for this show. Every human noise that I can make, every voice I do has been used in the last 32 years.
I was always impressed with how much you really put your all into these people. And I think sometimes doing some of these characters like Mo, that's tough. That's like shreds your chords.
Yeah, Mo, it's raspy. So if you talk like this for too long, eventually you're gonna shred yourself. And if Mo's screaming,
then you really I got to save the screaming for the end. And, you're right. We do put our all into it, which I learned watching when we met. I was 24 or something.
Right.
And I learned watching, especially Dan Castellaneta and Harry Shearer, and how they committed so fully, which I was so wide on. Like, wow, these guys really go for it. They're not embarrassed at all, even though they're in a mic. And there's certain voices I saved, like Duffman will blow me out in a second. I have to save Duffman for the end. And I actually dread it. Like, oh no, I got a lot of Duffman to do today.
Right.
It actually does hurt. I'm not complaining. This is a very good job.
Yeah, we're not allowed to complain.
You know what? Here's an anecdote for you. I once, though, my voice blows out rather easily, so I have to watch it. And I was having a rough time in my life, and I got in a screaming match with someone. Like, really, no kidding around. Like, it was a really bad.
Right.
And even worse than that, like, I was in my car afterwards, and I was like screaming. I was so upset. And I totally blew out my voice. Like, I really blew it out. And it didn't come back for almost 2 weeks. And I got really scared. Like, I couldn't get like beyond here, which is, in my line of work, a disaster, as you might imagine.
Exactly.
And I actually, I scared myself so bad that I got my vocal cords insured.
Really?
I did.
You're always like, you've heard like Baryshnikov insured his legs.
Yes.
Pianists insure their fingers. It actually kind of makes sense that you would insure your vocal cords.
I did. I mean, if you think about the revenue I'm lucky enough to bring in from doing The Simpsons, I mean, that was a long time ago. A lot of money would have gone bye-bye if I couldn't make voices anymore.
If after all of these characters and all these that you've inhabited, is there one that's your personal favorite? Like, it's just always fun to do?
The one I love the most is Mo, because he sounds like he's from Queens, and I'm from Queens, and I used to bartend, and he currently bartends. The one I enjoy the most, Conan, my friend, is Professor Frank. to me, it's the vocal equivalent of a peanut. I cannot stop once I start. If I get going, I simply cannot stop. It annoys the gadoodles out of my wife, but I very much enjoy it. And with each, sorry, yes.
Well, no, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's just that, like, one of the things I always tell is you guys do great improvs, so many great improvs with all the characters. But with Frank, I can tell that you get to throw in the kitchen sink, you know, little things that you can throw in there yourself that amuse you.
Exactly. And with each take, I'll add one, and I never want to stop. But the first line will be, you know, fairly straight for him. Like, hello, Conan, how are you? Take two will be, hello, Conan, how are you? Vlahovic. Take three will be, hello, Conan, how are you? Glohoibin. And I won't want to stop till by the end the monologue that follows is like, hello, Conan, how are you? He said when he was sitting and touching the thing that he shouldn't be. And they'll eventually have to say, enough, we got it. I'm like, you sure? Because I'd like to keep going.
I know. Those are probably days where they're like, no, seriously. Reese and Gene or whoever were like, we're good. And you're like, no. I want to do this for 45 more minutes.
Yeah, you can't be depressed making that. I think that's what it is. It's like a natural mood elevator. If you're down and you start talking this way, it's very difficult to remain depressed, Conan. Try it at home.
Someday you should try just doing something very serious with that voice. Like if you're ever asked to give a eulogy, you should get up there and do it as Frank.
Ladies and gentlemen, my Uncle Philip was a delightful man.
Yeah, that was how we kind of created Brockmire was.
Right.
There's a baseball announcer who talks like this. If you put this voice in every circumstance, you know, having sex or wasted on drugs or in a very serious relationship discussion with his girlfriend, does it still sound like this? And does he still give the count afterwards?
You know, it's funny because I think younger people may not know this, but I saw it right away with Brockmire is that you are channeling how, I mean, it's changed, but that's how you had to sound in the 70s.
Yeah.
And, you know, into the 80s, if you wanted to be in, a color announcer or just a play-by-play announcer, that's how you had to sound.
And it wasn't only sports announcers. It was a lot of television pitchmen, right? The Ginsu, you know, in Japan, the hand is a lethal weapon, but this theory does not work on a tomato. It's the Ginsu.
In Japan, the hand can be used like a knife. But this method doesn't work with a tomato. That's why we use the Ginsu.
Or, you know, Popeil, always Popeil's pocket fisherman.
Yes,
It was always this voice selling you. That was like the generic, vanilla, I don't know, television voice, announcer voice, and it bled into sports. And then working with Harry Shearer on The Simpsons, who, you know, his Vin Scully is so beyond dead on that you can't tell the difference between him and the actual Scully. We would joke around. He pointed out that baseball announcers can say anything they like as long as they give the count afterwards. So that was a lot of the genesis of the Brockmire thing too, is how inappropriate can you speak on the air describing your sex life or your drug use? And then, you know, as Pedro delivers a slatter into the dirt, want to know